Mike Mentzer repeatedly wrote and lectured bodybuilders about the importance of intensity in training. But what exactly was he saying? Does intensity mean adding more sets to one's workouts? Does it mean one should work out longer? Or does it mean something else entirely? The best answers to these questions can be found in an article Mike wrote in 1979 entitled Up the Ladder of Intensity. Let's check it out. Judging from the volume of mail and the number of inquiries I receive at the various promotions and public appearances I make all over the country, increasing numbers of bodybuilders are taking the Mentzer heavy-duty system of training more seriously. While I find this to be very gratifying, having had my fair share of skeptics and critics over the years, I am also made painfully aware of how misrepresented and misunderstood some aspects of my heavy-duty concepts are. While a certain amount of misunderstanding is to be expected, I believe that my failure to adequately explain key concepts is partly responsible. Like any system of thought, my training theories can answer any question thrown at it, as long as one thoroughly grasps all of the key concepts. The cornerstone of my system is the idea of intensity. A keen understanding of this one relatively simple concept will bring into sharp focus the rest of the theoretic edifice. A long time ago, exercise physiologists discovered that exercise, or any human activity, is comprised essentially of two important features: intensity and duration. Simply defined, intensity refers to the percentage of momentary effort, while duration is the amount of time spent engaged in an activity. These two factors exist in an inverse ratio to each other. In other words, they are mutually exclusive. You can have one or the other, but you can't have both together to any significant degree. The more effort one invests in a particular exercise, the less duration of that exercise will be. And likewise, if you want to protract the duration of exercise, then the intensity or effort must and will decrease. So, either you train hard or you train long. But no one in the world can train hard and long. All of this is pure and simple and not subject to debate or arbitrary change. Not my opinion or anyone else's, just plain simple fact. As true now as it was before I ever stated it or won a contest. The same physiologist discovered that intensity is the one feature of exercise most responsible for inducing size and strength increases, while duration primarily affects a cardiovascular response. Now here is where it gets a bit technical and tricky. You can gear your training to either size, strength, or cardiovascular response, or, yes, to both. However, since the human body possesses a finite or limited adaptive response, maximum increases in size and strength are only possible when you train 100% specifically for size and strength. This is possible only when training intensity is absolutely 100%, and duration thus very, very brief. Anything less than 100% intensity of effort will enable you to prolong the duration of your training, but will also result in less size and strength increases because you are now dividing adaptive response, or specificity, between size and strength and cardiovascular response. Think about it this way. If you want your muscles to grow progressively larger and stronger, then something about your workouts must progressively increase. This is where the great majority of bodybuilders become confused, even top bodybuilders. The common, though mistaken notion is that progress is contingent upon duration. That is, as you grow and get stronger, you will need more in terms of amount of training. The obvious fallacy here is that as one progressed towards the upper limits of his size and strength potential, he might be training 10, 12, 20 hours a day. This would be impossible, as again, the body only has a limited ability to compensate for the effects of stress. In order to make your body grow progressively bigger and stronger, the intensity of your training must increase. If you are not progressing, it is because you have adapted to a particular level of training intensity, and further progress will not come until you up the intensity level. This is the nature of the body's adaptive ability. You must impose an extraordinary demand upon the muscles to stimulate the adaptive response. Size and strength increases signal that the intensity of your training efforts is sufficient to tax your physical reserves. Because the body's reserves are limited, the body will enlarge upon its normal abilities so that future assaults of high-intensity training won't use them all up. As you grow and get stronger, the same amount of intensity will use up less of your reserves and stave off the possibility of eventual death. In time, progress will halt altogether as you adapt to a particular intensity level, which must be the case. For many, the dilemma of inducing more progress is not knowing or understanding the nature of adaptation. For the beginner who has never trained, any type of training represents a big step up the ladder of intensity. Even mild calisthenics would prove sufficiently intense to stimulate an adaptation towards bigger and stronger muscles. Not for long, however. Soon more intensity would be required for more progress. This can easily be supplied with the added resistance provided by barbells and a basic routine. This step up the ladder of intensity will again stimulate more size and strength increases until full adaptation occurs. And so, one must climb progressively up the ladder of intensity to the dizzying and frightening heights of one's ultimate size and strength potential. As we continue our climb up the intensity ladder, closer to our limit potential, it becomes more difficult to find new methods and routines that provide higher intensity. I recently stopped pre-exhausting due to lack of progress and employed the ultra-intense rest-pause system, and now I'm making some of the best gains of my career. The problem I face is where to go once I adapt to and stop making progress with rest-pause. Maybe I'll try rest-pause with the inclusion of a maximum negative after each maximum positive. At the moment, however, I'm still getting bigger and stronger with rest-pause. There is also a strong mental barrier to inducing greater and greater muscular contractions. A very large and strong muscle contracting with maximum intensity places much greater demands on the body's recuperative subsystems than does a smaller, weaker one. Because these demands upon the body's resources are potentially life-threatening, your mind, as well as your body, will do everything possible to prevent such taxing high-intensity exertion. Lassitude, anxiety, and even a preference for low-intensity workouts are manifestations of the mind's disinclination to engage the body in such maximal efforts. Therefore, as your muscles get stronger and stronger, you must exercise your will to get stronger apace. Being rather muscularly massive and very strong at the moment, I have recently been able to grasp rather profoundly the notion that intensity refers almost exclusively to the human mind, and the ability to will your muscles to contract against the only real resistance, your own mind. Arnold meant it literally when he said he actually willed his muscles to grow. It is my belief now that exercise equipment is superfluous, and that it is possible to contract the muscles sufficiently with mental power alone to cause them to grow. This is fodder for a future article beyond the scope of this one. For now, I hope I have clarified what intensity of effort implies. For some, words and ideas will always prove inadequate conveyors of intent. The only alternative then left to communicate what is untransmissible via the written or spoken word is action. Perhaps witnessing another person engaged in maximum possible momentary muscular exertion, or experiencing it yourself, is the only way.